welcome to my channel. You're not going to see a lot of me because it's not really about me. We're going to be doing a lot of things that are on the subject of prepping, but a ton of stuff about my Chambers stove, because I've had a lot of people ask me why a Chambers and what does it have to do with prepping. Well, Chambers is a great stove for anybody, but we're going to dive right in. This is my Chambers 90C model. These were produced somewhere from 1949 to mid-50s, I think. Not really the point. But this is the one I use every day. This is the one in my house. I have a B model. We'll do that in another video another time. Let me show you very quickly some of the features, and there are a lot of features, so it's going to take a quick minute. First, the burners. You have what's called a daisy burner, and I want you to be able to see it, so I'm going to pull it right out. The daisy burner has 4 small burners, which you get a nice little cone of heat from all of those. So instead of the ring that you get from your average gas stove, you get 4 smaller rings. It distributes the heat more evenly and is a more even heat, better for not burning things and getting a good even heat under your cooking. Okay, so put that back together. In another video, I'll probably be breaking it down and showing you a lot of things, how to adjust that flame, other things. Okay, on the C models of this era, they had pilot light here in the middle. If that pilot light were on, this would be too hot for me to pick up with my hands. This little guard over it, if you have the pilot light on, that's a nice little warming tray. You can keep your cup of coffee, your pot of coffee, anything else that you just want to keep warm a little bit on that. Now, mine's cold because I don't use the pilot light. And again, we'll get to that. So, we've got 3 burners here. You think, the average stove has 4 burners. Well, move my spoon rest. One of the great things that the Chambers stove has is the deep well. I'm going to move this kettle out of the way. The deep well has a burner down inside. It's all insulated around it, and it has an insulated lid to retain heat. So it's like, think crock pot or even miniature oven. Again, a lot more to unpack there, so we'll get to that later. The next thing I wanted to show you is the smooth top griddle, and you open up broiler pan inside. Here's where your burner is, so you can broil your steaks right in there. You can grill your Texas toast right on top. One of the great things about the Chambers is the oven. Just looks like your ordinary standard oven. Some people point out it's a little on the small size, though I've never had anything that wouldn't fit in there. I've done a 25-pound Thanksgiving turkey in there. What's great about the oven is how tight it seals. There's no rubber gasket here. This is a metal-to-metal seal, and the handle makes sure that that is clicked in place tight. It seals. It is fully insulated all the way around. The bottom has a cast iron baffle to spread the heat evenly. My cakes come out better. Everything cooks juicy because it's sealed. And the great thing about the Chambers, whether we're talking deep well or oven, they advertise this is cook with the gas off. How you gonna cook with the gas off? Well, give me a few minutes to prepare a few things, and I'll show you. So I'm going to make a pork roast. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my oven temperature to 500 degrees. And again, since I don't use the pilot lights, and we'll talk about that another time, I'm going to light my oven. Now the oven's lit and it's preheating at 500 degrees. And wow, 500 degrees. That's hotter than any recipe I've ever used before. Hang in there. We're going to get back to that in just a minute. Okay, so I'm back. I lit the oven. I set it at 500 degrees. I've waited 10 minutes. Now, I'm pretty precise on that. I set a timer to give it 10 full minutes to heat up. Don't guess at that because you want it to be hot. You want it to be right. In that 10 minutes, I got out a 2-pound pork roast. I'm kind of putting it in the end of this pan. And I'm using a smaller pan because it's a small roast. But 500 degree oven, preheated. I'm going to pop that in there. And now I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. Alexa, set timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
Ta-da! And what I'm going to do in that 15 minutes, I'm going to get some veggies prepared to go in there. Now, if you wonder if I'm making all this up, no, I'm not. Back in the time when these ranges were being sold, they came with a cookbook, or you could get a cookbook called the Idle Hours Cookbook. I'm using one from 1958. I don't have an actual copy of it. I have it on my Kindle, and I'm hoping to get a hard copy of it sometime soon, but right now I think archive.org is where I found it. And I look up these great recipes, and this is the recipe for pork roast. So following Chambers' directions exactly, I have preheated the oven for 10 minutes at 500 degrees, popped that seasoned roast right in there, and it's going to be in for 15 minutes. And I will be right back. Okay, so I still have a few minutes on that 15-minute timer that I set for the roast. I took part of that time and I cut up some veg that I'm going to put in with the roast. But this is a good time for me to tell you a few things you might be wondering about. Okay. I told you about the Idle Hours Cookbook, and that's where I'm getting this. I told you about how the oven is insulated. There's another key piece here. This oven, when it's turned on and the gas is going, is just like any other oven. It has a vent that's venting fresh air through it, so, you know, gas isn't building up in the oven. Right here's the vent on this oven. It's quite warm. A lot of warm air coming out. When you turn the oven off, when I go ahead and turn this gas valve off, there are vents inside that oven that close down. And again, in another video when I'm going through all the inner workings, I will show you everything. But it shuts down. So then you have this completely rock wool insulated oven, shut off, no vent, retaining all the heat that's in there. Also retaining the moisture that's in there. So your roasts aren't going to dry out. They're going to be moist because they're not venting air through there. It's going to seal it all in. It's like having it sealed in a clay cooker or in your crock pot. And what I'm showing you right now, this recipe is how to cook your whole meal in one pot and have it done. And I know some of you are thinking, hey, I can do that with my crock pot. Well, first of all, if your electricity goes out, no, you can't. But that's where the prepper part of this comes in. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why this, of course this stove makes sense for everybody, but if you've got a prepper mindset or you live way out in the boonies like we do, why it's really an important piece of equipment for you to have. These stoves are set to run on, oh, and I didn't show you this before, it's a little pantry. It's just a place to keep your extra pans. The deep well is in the back side of that. But it says here that this range can be used with LP, bottled or tank gas, natural, mixed or manufactured gas. Okay, so it came out of the chute ready to be used, natural gas or LP gas. In another video, I will show you how to adjust the valves so you are getting the right amount of gas. And I know valve isn't the right word, orifice. But first of all, this will run on whatever gas you got. Okay? It cooks with half of that gas. So as a prepper, or being someone like me out in the boonies, we have to go get our tanks filled, bring them here. I don't want to do that very often. And that'll bring us around to why I don't have the pilot lights. There's a pilot light for the oven. There's a pilot light for the burners. There's a pilot light for the deep well. If I have 3 pilot lights burning, Well, right now we're in the middle of winter. It'd be nice. It'd probably keep my whole house warm. It's using a lot of gas. It's using, everyone thinks that that's just a small amount. Well, it's a small amount all the time. So I have mine off. I'd rather strike a match or use a welder striker to light my burners than to have that gas going all the time. And in the summer, just having this one on makes my kitchen so hot I can't stand to be in here. So I'm not a fan of the pilot lights myself. Like I said, there's some big benefits to that. There are a lot of things you can do in the deep well that you just put in there with the heat of the pilot light. You don't even have to light the burner. You can keep things warm on this little center burner that I showed you before, this little cover for the pilot light. So there's benefits, pros and cons to the pilot light. It's my personal choice. I don't like to have it on. So, and there's the gas savings. That it'll run on different kinds of gas. But the other thing is I'm showing you now one recipe, one thing that you can do to have a whole meal cooked, and you're watching the actual prep time that it's taking me to do it. I gave 10 minutes for the oven to heat up. During that 10 minutes, I'm getting everything out. 15 minutes for the pork to get started cooking. And in that time, I've done the veggies. And then I'm going to walk away from this and I'm not going to worry about it until it's time to eat. All my life, I've raised 6 kids. I have grandkids here now. And all my life, I have run in at 5 o'clock going, oh my God, now the cooking's got to start. I got to feed everyone. Now, we walk in at 6 o'clock and go, oh, dinner's done. We open the door and dinner's there waiting for us. It's a beautiful thing. And again, you might be thinking you can do this in your crock pot, but I'm telling you, I've had a crock pot for a lot of years. I've never been able to pull off what I can do with this. I should have been ready, had it ready for you, didn't do it today. You can shove dessert in there at the same time. You can cook your little apple pie or your apple crumble or, some little tart, any kind of thing that you'd be throwing in the oven, throw your brownies in. You can cook that at the same time when you throw your veggies in. I can show you how to do that too. I didn't do it this time, but a lot of times I have. And so when it comes 6 o'clock, I'm pulling out a roast that's finished, all of our vegetables, and dessert. Boom. And all my prep time was 25 minutes. And that's including the time to heat up the oven, everything. To me, to be able to feed 6 people that fast, that's what I'm doing tonight is a meal for 6. It's actually a meal for 8, but we're pigs. We'll eat it all. Anyway, just a couple more minutes and this will be ready to put in. I'll come back to you for that. Okay, so the pork roast has been in there for 15 minutes. I want to point something out. See right at the bottom of the oven? See that little light? There's a little, I can't remember what the stuff is called, but basically it's like a little glass. It is completely sealed. But you can see the flame. You can see that the oven's on. So now it's been 15 minutes. I'm going to open this very hot oven and I'm going to slide my roast out, and it is sizzling and crackling and doing its thing. And I'm going to take my pan of veggies and I'm going to try to be careful and not burn myself and not throw any more of them in the floor. And put all those nice veggies right in there with that roast. Okay. Now, I've got some carrots, celery, potatoes, a little bit of onion. I'm just tossing them right in there. Now, I'm going to take this lid, and I don't want it on real tight. I want to set that on loosely so it's still venting just a little bit. All right? I would like to have one of the roasters that has a little vent you can set in the top, but I don't, so I just put the lid on loosely. Move that around in there. I'm making sure that that lid is still a little bit loose, and then I'm closing this up. Alexa, give me a 10-minute timer.
10 minutes, starting now.
Okay, we've set another 10-minute timer. The roast has been in for 15 minutes without a lid. The veggies are in now. The lid's on loosely. We're giving it 10 minutes. See you in 10 minutes. So just one more thing to do. Ta-da! That's the last step. It's been 10 minutes since I put the vegetables in with the roast. So now I've turned the gas off. According to the Idle Hours cookbook, I need 30 minutes per pound of meat after the gas is turned off. So for this 2-pound roast, it needs to be in an additional hour after I've turned the gas off. It's almost 3 o'clock now. So this roast and the vegetables will be done at about 4 o'clock. We don't eat dinner till 6. So when I come in at 6 o'clock, that's still going to be piping hot, dinner's done, everything's perfect. We pull it out and eat it. Less than a half-hour prep time, the whole meal's in the oven. Nothing to do but enjoy. I think it's great. Okay, so it's dinner time. And I'm going to take my pork roast out. Flip the lid. Hey, that looks good. Let's see if the potatoes got done. That looks done. Carrots are soft, celery's soft, and what did I tell you? Be so tender it's just falling apart. I'm telling you, that's going to be good. Now, I might not have gotten it browned quite as much as I usually like to. Oh, that potato's nice. But I might not have had it quite up high enough temperature, or might not have left the lid off of it long enough. But it doesn't matter whether it's brown or not. Let me tell you, that's going to be, it's done, and it's going to be delicious. So, and if you do like a nice browned roast, you can always sear it first before you put it in. Anyway, there we are.